some of the stories are really ridiculous. Like there's that Star Wars Darth Vader issue where Darth Vader goes to Exegol and Palpatine shows him everything, and then he just doesn't tell Luke at all. Like a little odd, you know, those stories like are kind of crappy. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're going to be talking about something a little bit different today, something we don't normally talk about too much. We're going to be talking about the state of Star Wars comics, and more importantly, kind of like the canon nature and how publishers go on to make these stories and where it kind of falls within the Lucasfilm hierarchy of importance. And I found this really interesting article published on September 25th that talks about one of the Star Wars comic writers and pretty much their experience with what's canon and what's not and how that gets changed over time. So something I want to go over with. You can also catch this article on StarWarsNewsNet.com, and let's get into it right now and talk about behind the scenes challenges of developing Star Wars Marvel comics. In developing Star Wars Marvel comics during the sequel trilogy's production. That's very interesting. So I guess this is going to deal more so with, you know, the sequel trilogy, but it should give us some insight right into the comics as a whole. Published on September 25th by Grant Davis. Marvel Comics writer Jason Aaron has revealed some of the challenges of writing the ongoing Star Wars title as he reflected on his 2015-2017 run with the comic book. Talking at Fan Expo Canada, Jason Aaron revealed that there were pretty specific restrictions put into place when writing stories related to the original trilogy characters who were set to appear in the sequel trilogy movies. For example, because Luke Skywalker had a scene early on in The Last Jedi that involved him fishing, any scene involving Luke fishing was deemed off limits to Aaron and other writers. Quote, "Doing the comics, we were very much the low men on the totem pole. And it was, well, you can't do this because they're doing something in a movie that's similar, but they're not the same at all though. I was told at one point, quote, oh, Luke Skywalker can't go fishing because he catches a fish at one point in The Last Jedi. Is that the only time he's ever going to go fishing? How did he learn how to fish? I think I got to do that in an issue, but it's frustrating stuff like that at times." And that's pretty interesting that he would say that, because usually people don't speak out too much about this, and I understand this is not like the biggest thing to speak out about, but at the same time it does give like fans of the Star Wars comics like me insight into what's going on. And I guess for fans like us it's a little frustrating because, I mean, in a sense maybe not, because some of the stories are really ridiculous. Like there's that Star Wars Darth Vader issue where Darth Vader goes to Exegol and Palpatine shows him everything, and then he just doesn't tell Luke at all. Like a little odd, you know, those stories like are kind of crappy. So in my mind those are not canon stories, and I mean they can't be canon stories because they're just like they're a little a lot of Star Wars comics, it's a little ridiculous, but sometimes they do good things and then they scrap it, like the Kanan backstory. Jason Aaron noting the difficulties in working within the confines of a shared universe, having these kinds of creative restrictions is somewhat consistent with how things have always been with creating new Star Wars stories for comic books. The Star Wars Expanded Universe had restrictions to try to keep everything under one continuity, consistent with the movies. There are two separate eras of the Star Wars Expanded Universe, both which prioritize the movies over all the tie-in content. The first occurred when Lucasfilm first licensed out Star Wars to other creators, where certain clear boundaries were set with regards to what could be depicted. For instance, Darth Vader could not directly interact with the main characters in the first Marvel Comics run in the 1970s and 1980s, while the Clone Wars was made a point of never having Anakin Skywalker and General Grievous meet to preserve a scene early in Revenge of the Sith, being their first and only meeting. Once Disney purchased Lucasfilm and committed to developing new films and shows, it was decided that they would classify past content developed outside of the original and prequel trilogies and the Clone Wars as Star Wars Legends, a sub-brand that would serve as its own alternate continuity to the new content that they were developing. The new continuity or canon expanded universe makes up the vast majority of content that has been produced under the Disney era, including the first 6 movies and all seasons of the Clone Wars. There are still exceptions, such as clear non-canon works like the LEGO Star Wars television miniseries and Star Wars Visions. Jason Aaron's run is collected in an omnibus and a trade paperback format, alongside the work of other writers on the main Star Wars title since Marvel regained the license. So yeah, it's a little bit of a quick video, but it's interesting to see those challenges and what it means for Star Wars fans, because what they can do to the comics, I mean, maybe they can do to the animated stuff. And quite frankly, I think if they decanonize certain things in like the Clone Wars and stuff, it would be, you know, to me, it would be quite upsetting. So it's not something I want to see going forward. I kind of wish they'd stay true to more things. I understand why they can't, but if there's good content, leave it like that. But at the same time, what is nice is that they're letting the writers know ahead of time, like, hey, don't touch this. So I guess where it's equally as frustrating is when someone writes a story and they're like, we're going to change that. And I think about characters like Dr. Aphra, and I know her comic run is not doing too well anymore. I think the second run with Amy Wong, I think it kind of torpedoed Aphra a little bit, to be honest with you. And then the new series with Cherish Chen, it's like not bad, but it's not great. But it would be upsetting if, there's so many stories in the omnibus right there, including the origin story. And maybe fans who have been so loyal and spent so much money, well, maybe they should have a little bit of a say in that too. I understand you want to work things in with the story, but at the same time, if it's a change that can be accommodated, if it's a story that can be accommodated, I think it should be accommodated. For you guys that are fans of the Star Wars comics, I want to know what your thoughts are in the comments below in terms of Star Wars comic canon, changes that are made to the canon, and what you think about them telling writers like, hey, you can't do these things ahead of time. Are you cool with that? I mean, I'm cool with that part. Where I'm kind of not cool is when they start changing things that have already been made and said is canon. I get it sometimes if it's really ridiculous, like that dumb Darth Vader issue where he goes to Exegol. But then when you have something like Kanan and his origin story in Order 66, it's kind of like, you really have to touch that? I read and bought the book. For a story like that that could be accommodated, that's reasonable, that is believable to exist in that time frame, why change it? Again, silly stuff like Darth Vader and Exegol, absolutely. But things that can be accommodated, I don't think they should be changed. But that's just me. And that's why I want to know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And also, let me know, are there any Star Wars comics that you're currently reading that are currently out right now that you're enjoying a lot? And is there anything else you're reading, like old Star Wars comics, Legend of Star Wars comics, or just anything Star Wars that you're reading right now that you'd want me to know about? Because I'm about to start the Thrawn Ascendancy novel, and I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait, especially with Ahsoka Season 2 on the horizon. But anyway, for more videos like this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to my channel, share these videos. It helps the channel a lot. And I love making content like this for you guys all the time. And I know it was a quick video, everyone, but I think it was still something important to talk about with you. And until next time, guys, stay safe out there. May the Force be with you, always. I'll catch you in the next video.